Good morning, guys and gals. Here's Bob from Bob's Barn Workshop. Hey, here we are about a week after the big blizzard here in western New York, and it's 55 degrees. And I have a job I've been talking about for a long time. This is the 67 Mustang under the cover here. And we're going to pull the engine because we're going to rebuild it into a fire-breathing monster called a 347 stroker. Because it needs rebuilding anyway, and the machinist says it really doesn't cost that much more to do a stroker. Of course, I'm going to put good AFR heads on it. I may have to reuse my original vintage Performer Edelbrock manifold because of hood height. I can't put a high manifold in here and have clearance for the carburetor, and I don't want to bubble the hood or nothing. I want to keep it looking like a sleeper. So I got to finish clearing this stuff out of here. You can see my engine crane. My engine stand is back here. This thing, it's just shoved under the car right now. I've got to jack it up. I got to get underneath the rear, I think, to begin with, and just pull out the drive shaft. And while I'm under there, I need to take the bolts out of the transmission tail mount. And then I got to come up to the hood. I got to drain all the fluids out of the tranny, the engine, the radiator. Get the radiator out, the hoses out. Anything attached to the engine, throttle linkage, fuel lines, electrical, battery, all that stuff's got to come out of the way so we can lift this sucker out. And I think I can do it right here. If not, I'll push it forward so the nose sticks out in the driveway and use the crane out in the driveway. I got to move my lawn tractor here, my snowblower this time of year. All right, well, I'm going to go get arranged and we'll get started. All right, so the first thing I'm going to start with is the fluids. Of course, it was too low to the ground to just get a bucket under there, so I had to jack her up just a little bit. And there's a petcock down here somewhere, which will probably be impossible to turn. I have to get some pliers. Of course, it's out of sight too. Oh, it turned pretty easy. Cool. It's nice and clean after it's been in there for 15 years, huh? All right. Well, let's start with air cleaner. Fancy Mustang wing nut. Huh? So that's taken a long time. Distributor's got to come off. One of the most awkward things to do on this car is to get the headers off, because they're way down in there with awkward sized little bolts on them that you can't get a socket wrench on. You've got to use a open end wrench of some sort. So you get about a 1/16 of a turn at a time. Boy, those are stuck on there good. These are good plug wires. These were premium plug wires. The suction broke. Kind of got the car against the wall here, so it's hard to. Yep, yep. Alright. Trying to decide whether I need to pull the fuel pump off. I guess it wouldn't hurt. I want to take the fan and stuff out, so I gotta get the radiator out. So I gotta get the fan off, which the fan goes on from the front, so somehow I gotta get the shield off. The shroud. This is a 3-row radiator, so it does have extra cool. Even though it looks like a standard radiator, it's a 3-row. And I got the sap on today, it's terrible. How am I going to do that? These radiators are just, oh, this one's got 4 bolts in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing's rusty on this car. This car's a 67, but we redid it in 2004, 2005 was most of the work we did on this for engine and suspension. And but it's never, hardly ever seen the rain. It's never been out of course in the winter. So it has no more rust than it had when we bought it back in '96. I'm thinking about putting an electric fuel pump on it. I need to get this radiator drained, which is going very slowly. Got a little Edelbrock 500 4-barrel on it. Get him out of the way. Got to get the hoses all off it, but I got to wait for the stuff to drain. Eventually I'm going to pull the carb manifold and everything. I think I'm going to pull the valve covers off before I here's some wiring harness stuff that has to be disconnected. I guess I can start working on that. I got to get my some more tools. Okay, one thing when you're working on a car, especially if you're a rookie, disconnecting and connecting a battery. You always take the ground side off first and the power side off last. And here is why. If I was trying to start taking this hot side of the battery off, and my wrench should hit the frame, the battery is grounded with a huge conductor to the frame, I'd get a big arc. You know, sparks, blah, blah, blah. Could even get an explosion because of hydrogen in the battery. So you always see, if I touch here and here, I got no issue because that's the ground. So if I take the ground side, the negative side of the battery off, now there's no reference to the frame anywhere. So if I was to touch from here to here, see, there's nothing referencing that, so it can't blow up on me. Just a simple little DIY trick. Yeah, here's what I've been trying to show you. If you notice those header bolts, I can get, it's a 7/16. I can get a socket on these. Ones where the pipe curves away. That one, open end wrench. Can I get it on this one? Yes. So that one will come up. Can I get it on that one? No. Can I get it on this one? Yes. Alright, so they all got to be loosened up and taken off. There's also the equalizer bar for the clutch. It comes through and goes down between the headers down in there. That's got to get weaseled out. Mounts to the engine, or the frame over here somewhere. Right up here. I see the top of it. So that's got to come disconnected. So there's a lot more to this than you think. even though it's a very simple engine with a very simple wiring harness. I got some wires here. I've got to label these. I put this relay in for the stereo and the gauges and stuff. And that's a new harness that goes around and through where the rest of the wiring harness does. And then there's the gauge harnesses that come through into the part of the coil. They probably should be labeled. Fuel pressure and oil pressure sending unit. That's not fuel pressure. Those are both oil pressure. I got one that's the standard in the dash and one that's on a little unit that I installed under the dash. You know, the typical triple gauge set. So that's got to be coming off. These are probably 1/2 inch. Yes, these are probably a lot of 1/2 inch bolts on this engine. And as she trickles away, I'm going to disconnect the fuel line. You can see the hose clamps. Those are proper hose clamps for fuel lines, by the way. A hose clamp with the screw that pulls it through the little, you know, screw threads in the thing and wraps it around are the wrong ones. These ones have a complete band that wraps around, and then the clamp just squeezes it. So you want to use the right ones. I think I'm going to pull the fuel line off. I probably will pull the fuel pump out. And all this stuff has got to come off because I'm sending the guy the bare block. The belts, I got to still figure out how to get this radiator out when the time comes. It's drizzling very slowly, but it's getting there. As soon as that stops drizzling, I'll pull off the lower hose. Then we can get the radiator out and the fan and take the fan off. I don't think I'm going to pull anything else off. Maybe I'll pull the generator out, alternator. I got to take the heater hoses off up here. You see them going back to the firewall. As I said, the headers. On the bottom, the transmission linkage. Well, that's just a shifter. Shifter comes up through the floor, of course. This has got a 5-speed in it. A 1994 World Class T5, it's called. I did a power brake conversion on it, so you'll notice that it does have a power booster. Oh, yeah. Alright, we gotta just keep going. So I've been working on this upper radiator hose. Now I loosened the clamp and slid it back. Now it was stuck and I had to get the blade of the screwdriver and I slid it back. I roped top radiator on this. Sometimes these things get stuck almost just like glue. They always get stuck just like glue. Basically. You hear it make like a cracking noise when it gets unstuck. So I'm just going to pry on the edge here. Let's try some channel locks. Oh, that's a little bit too big. I may have to just cut it. Oh, there she's loose. See? A little bit of rocking. It's just like me, Mr. Rocker. Those who know me. Sticking my pliers into there to try to create a pry point. I gotta move this clamp. It's right where I want to grab, of course. Okay, it's very compliant. Come on, baby. There we go. Bingo. Now we got the same misery going into the bottleneck here, the thermostat housing. Dipstick's right in the way, of course. Move this guy back up. I'm gonna write on this again. This one has the bypass hose attached to the thermostat housing. Get that up out of here. Oh, good, they come right off. Sweet. All right. Rad hoses, let's put them right here. That just gives us a little more clearance. Take off that bottom heater hose. There we go. And tighten his hose clamp right back up. We're just going around one by one, looking at what needs to be taken off here. Of course, that hose is seized up. I gotta get a light. Well, I just gotta keep you out of my way. I'm taking the 4 bolts. I got the 2 hoses off from the radiator. So I got my blaster master here. These are the rad bolts here. Nothing's rusty on this car. That's the beauty of this flipping car. I'm going to bag those and tag those. Drain just a little more. I've got a overflow pipe here I gotta dig out. It's got a little bend over clampy thing. Just a little, tab. Now where'd my screwdriver go? Of course, that's what I'm looking for. I was glad the lower radiator hose came off so easy. Come on. There we go. That's a piece of crap. This is just the overflow pipe. All right. I know how to do this. We pull off the shroud, let it slide back over the fan, the radiator will come out, and then I can pull the shroud forward and up and off. So this has just got 4 big like sheet metal screws in it, I think. Of course they've got nuts on them. Jeepers creepers, why do they do that shit? She said. Come on. No, that ain't gonna work. Anyway, there isn't. So I gotta get these bolts off. Let's see what size they are. They look like they might be 3/8. I happen to have a 3/8 wrench. Yes, I do. In my pocket. So we'll set him down in there. All right, now she should slide over. All right, put a bunch of monkey screw around that. Give me a chance to flush out the radiator and the fins, although it's not super dirty. It's got a few bugs in it. Might have been driven to the drag one a couple of times. Alright, radiator is out. Fan shroud is out. I gotta save those bolts. Or should I save them? Should I just put them? Alright, got those so they don't get lost. Now, we've got to I'm going to turn that light off. What we got to do is get these. My light's not doing too well. Can you see all right that way? Yeah. Well, those half are 9/16. Those are half. But I don't think Mr. Radiator is coming in here. Oh, yes, he is. Trick is not to take them all the way out, just loosen them up. Then I can get them out with the, and turn them 90 degrees. So I got clearance in the back of my drill. throttle. There we go. All right. Man, the back's going to be wrecked after this. Need one of those fender protectors. Oh, the whole pulley's coming off. All right. That'll get the belt off. It's weird the way they have these blades offset on these fans. I don't know if it's because they don't want them to create some sort of beat frequency. This is the original 17-year-old fan belt that I put on there when I redid the motor. I guess I should carry a spare, huh? I'm going to pull this fuel line off. Now there's just a 5/16 fuel line that comes out of the body frame, comes up along the frame and goes into the mechanical fuel pump here. It was chrome. I got an oil sender here. I guess I got to take that off. Well, I don't really need to. This stuff's all coming out together. I can do it on the engine stand. I don't see any reason it's going to get in the way. I need to hook my chains on this somehow. So you see that bolt right there where the coil is? Maybe I'll use that. Although there's bolt holes here. I want to get one of those equalizers, I think. I might have to pull the distributor out. I don't want to break it. The fuel line goes up to the back of the carburetor right there. PCV valve, pollution control, or positive, no, it doesn't stand for pollution control, it stands for positive crankcase ventilation, PCV, not PVC, PCV. Alright, that must be the water temperature sensor there for the gauge inside, and there's one in the back that I've got, which I think is another crossover. Maybe I'm lying. I got to figure out how we're going to hook this thing on. I might better take this fuel line off. I know I got to take this one off. As I said, these are the proper kind of clamps. I got my super cheapy. They're not really that bad. Harbor Freight hose pliers here. They actually work pretty good because you can get on there and wangle it around. See how I've got the seal broken now? That's what they're good for. I'm going to stick that back up behind the wires up here. And I think I'm going to take that pipe off. See, that's the original. I believe that's the original. Sorry, I'm jiggling you around here like an idiot. I got to double wrench that. Alright, wires coming to the engine. I just untaped this harness, which I was able to unplug, which is the original harness. In that harness was a dark green wire, which went to the negative side of the coil. There was a small white wire that went to this oil pressure sending unit down here. I just disconnected the orange wire that goes to the rear temperature sensor. So we'll pull him up there. And I believe that's all the wires to the engine. Sorry, I'm waggling all over here. Other than the cables, but I'm going to leave those cables on until we lift her out. I got to disconnect the harness to the alternator. There's a wire to the to the starter. I think I'll disconnect him from up here and tie him off on the engine. I could remove those export braces, but I don't think we need to because I think the engine can slide forward. It's got to have a long reach though. This is far back from the nose. It's a good thing I got the 2-ton lift, because it'll lift 1,000 pounds extend it all the way, which will be fine. Alright, let's see what else are we going to do now. I got to use a double wrench on that fuel pump. I'm going to put an electric fuel pump in, I think, anyway. There's the throttle linkage. I can drop that off. There's just a pin in the back there. Mechanical linkage. Fuel line. I can pull that carb and it just had an electric choke, so that'll come right off with it. And the electric choke was actually grounded. The ground for the choke is right on the carburetor, so that's not a big deal. I can pull that off. I could pull the distributor. Generator. I got to take photos of the back of the generator. I think I'll go for the generator next, or the alternator. Chrome, you know, that makes it that much better. I think I'm going to pull the alternator all in one shot. Oh, that was short. And I think the next ones are 1/2 inch. So that's the brace for the adjuster on the bottom. I'm going to leave that right how it is. I'm going to take these two out, then there'll be one bolt holding it, and then I can tip it down and take pictures of the back. Wow. Okay, so the alternator bracket, this like 4.5, 5-inch bolt went in the bottom, and the 3-inch bolt went in the top. So you got to remember that. Now we've got to find the wrench for this. Alright, let's take that 5/8 bolt out of the top. Now notice it has a 2-inch spacer or so too. Alright. Everything is loose. Let's see what we got here. 4 wires. So here's what we got on the back of the alternator. Heavy black wire goes on the battery output. That's, I don't know how big that is. THHN, nice wire. Goes up to here and right to the battery. The field winding is orange. Ground wire here. I can't tell what color that is, it's really short. And then there's a dark blue stator winding. So that's the windings on that. And also I've got to take that big bolt out of the block ground because that comes from the harness. That's got to come loose. Let's stick this guy down here. He likes the blink because he's a piece of crap. Let's see what I got for wrenches. I'm going to back this guy up here now so you can see my shoulder. Yeah, The battery output, the charge output is a 7/16. I bought this alternator offline. That looks like a 5/16. Let me go get, oh, look at that thing is split, the spacer. Huh. Alright, let me go find a little open end wrench here. Tiny one. I actually do have a little set. Well, it looks like a 5/16 to me. And yes, it is. And you got to hold on the terminal with your thumb, otherwise you'll spin the whole insulated terminal in the alternator, and of course that'll break off the internal connection. So hold the wire so it doesn't rotate when you try to take these nuts off. They act like a wrench to help hold it in place. It only takes a quarter turn to get them cracked loose. Don't lose your little nuts, of course. They're a little 5/16. It's going to fall right into the bucket full of coolant if I do. Yeah, that coolant's in nice shape too. It gives me an indication that my engine block is in good shape. It is an original 1968 engine block. And back in '04 I worked at RIT and we were doing automotive recycling and cleaning research, and we had this giant machine called a MART. And it was basically a giant dishwasher with high pressure steam and jets. And it was so powerful they told me that it would actually blow an engine block around inside of it, so we had to chain it down. Alright, out comes the alternator in one piece. She's getting stripped, ain't she? Alright. Let's see. I gotta get some open end wrenches to try to do that double nutted thing on the well, I got my second battery out because that one was dead, and I got 91 minutes, it says. That's not the right one. Okay, so this is 9/16 and a half inch. That's like a double nut thing. Oh, just gonna drizzle a little fuel with this. No big deal. I'm gonna get my screwdriver and I probably should have ran a hard line to this carb, but I didn't. Oh, time for my Wango pliers. Wango Tango. These things are great. Here, crack. And kind of jack it. There we go. I never had any trouble with it run this way. I got the hose running right down through the valley here. Down in the valley. I never had much trouble with it. In the spring, I'd always wanted to my fuel tank is clean too. I'm looking at this fuel filter that's been in there for 17 years, and I don't see any dirt in it. Okay. If I can get a hold of that little guy. He got a little hose grabber thingy thing here too. That's my vacuum advance. to the distributor. And I believe the distributor has a 1/2 inch tie down bolt on the bottom and you can lift it right out. So that's got to come out eventually, so why not? Here we are. Of course, this is how you set your timing. You got 2 wires on the distributor, a black and a red. The black goes to the negative of the coil, which is like the trigger for the coil. How a coil works is when you close contacts to it, either with old points or with electronic contacts, it builds up a charge, a field. There's coils in there. Builds up a magnetic field. When you remove the power by lifting the ground through your distributor points and or electronic ignition, the field collapses and it basically squeezes, pushes current, it's called induction, pushes current out through the high voltage coil, which has a lot more windings, which therefore induces less current but a lot higher voltage, and that gives you a spark. And so in the old days, what dwell is how long the points are closed, giving the coil time to charge. So they got to be closed for a certain amount of time to actually drive enough charge and build enough big field in the coil. So down in her valley. So, and that's where you pick up your, that's what that other wire, the green wire to the coil was for the tachometer. Because it sees those pulses and counts them. Alright, are we still looking where I want to look? So I'm taking out this 1/2 inch bolt at the bottom. There's not enough friction to use my ratchet, so, and a cool little block there that holds it down, and she's stuck because she's been in there for 17 years. I'm going to grab a hold of the metal shaft part of it. There we go. There's an O-ring in there, so it just was stuck. And that's it. There's your distributor, which is your distributor worm gear, which is driven off from your camshaft. And this can go in 180 degrees. Actually, it can go in a lot of out of whack. So what you got to do is bring it up to top dead center and make sure that your rotor is pointing at your #1 spark plug. That's all there is to that. Alright. I really like to dump the oil pan off in this. It'd be a lot easier to get it out. But I don't think I'm going to do it. Alright, I've got to remove the battery ground, which I'm not sure, that looks really big. Let's see how big that baby is. Oh, it's a 5/8 also. I don't know. Okay. I can't get my wild man wrench in there, so. Chassis ground, or yeah, engine ground. But you need a good engine ground for all of your electronics to work. So I'm going to bag that up together too. I don't want to really crawl under to take off the starter wire. Meh. Let's get the carburetor off. I'll stuff all these holes full of rags. Basically, then I've got the throttle linkage, the tail piece of the thing. I'm going to have to raise the front of the car up a lot higher to get underneath there so I can take out the rear transmission mount. There's only 3 mounting points on an engine and transmission. The back of the transmission, and there's 2 on the sides of the engine. That way the engine can kind of rock, and then when your tail shaft of your transmission sits in that, it actually controls the angle of the engine. I think I'm going to pull these valve covers off too so I don't scratch them. But what I've got here, here's a fire to communicate. No, not really. Right now, I think I'm going to drop this thing back down. So it's going to be 3 or 4 inches lower for me to reach. And just because I wasn't climbing under it, I was using just the jack. Alright. Till I need that again. This dang light of mine. Must be the batteries are bouncing around in there. Oh, I gotta drain the oil out of this too. But let's get the carb off. Those look like 1/2 inch. Half inch. See if I can reach it with this guy. Get around the back side here. I got 2 hoses to take off it before I lift it off. Maybe I should get them. Well, it gives me well, it's bolted down so I can pull and waggle on it. Well, that's not a very good connection for the power brakes. Oh, it is okay. Ha! You know what I used? No, this is funny. I used an air chuck fitting, it looks like. Must be what I had that would fit. But guess what? It fit. Sorry about banging the tripod around. So I got that one off. That's for the power brakes. So let's pull him up here. There we go. I got to get that wire off the front. Twist and push. My wife says I overdrew my debit card. Dang it. Christmas, you know. Let's see. The medium-sized hose yanker offer. I'm telling you what, these little hose pliers have come in really handy. Okay. PCV valve. Positive crankcase ventilation. I'm going to take the whole linkage rod out so it's not in the way. I'm going to leave it right on the carb. And I've laid my pliers down, porcupine.
Where's those pliers, porcupine?
There they are. All I've got in there is a bent over nail. You know, I didn't have a little cotter pin. And all that is a rod that, like a Z-bend rod that comes up from the pedal. Typical total mechanical connection. Oh, that's got a little rubber grommet in it. Okay. I took this carburetor right out of the box and put it on this car. This won't fit. So I need me 1/2 inch open end. I haven't adjusted it at all other than the idle screws, which I did with a vacuum gauge according to watching quite a few onliners. Those feel like metric bolts because they fit these 1/2 inch wrench very loosely. But they're the right threads, so I guess they can't be. They're longer than the ones that were in the front, I think, by a little bit. I gotta bag all this stuff up here in a couple of minutes so I know what everything is. Carb bolts. Alright. Let's get the old Edelbrock off. I may be putting this back on. Oops. Return spring. It isn't a very strong one. There we go. That is a nice little carburetor though. I'm going to take the valve covers off, give me a little bit more clearance first. Alright, so I'm going to get, and I know that these are 7/16. I'm going to get a long extension. I might have brought it with me. If you remember, I had to cut all these. You don't put these on very tight, so you notice that did not hammer. Because the holes in the damn block are pretty short. And I believe they're stainless, because I didn't want them to rust on my beautiful polished aluminum valve covers. And I don't know if you remember the pretty blue rockers that I have in here. I don't have a dead blow hammer, so I got a dead blow log here. And I've got those metal reinforced. Well, I guess they're just aluminum gray, aren't they? Alright. So as I said, I'm getting a set of beautiful AFR heads on here. I don't know if these valve covers will be right. I put all those guide plates in there, if you remember right. Gosh, I could pull the whole top off the engine to make this even lighter, but there's no sense of doing that until I've got a... There we go. This is going to be tough because I've got it close to the wall. So let's start with the back one. Let's start with the hard one first. I'm going to get rid of the engine here, so this is going to be fun. For an old guy, I don't get my legs to bend that far. I used all stainless bolts on this, I think, when I put it together. Because I didn't want... Alright, that's the way to do it. I'll keep away. This is how I'm going to have to get in here and do the headers, I think, too. Oh, there goes the first casualty. Yes, this is definitely the way to get to the... Seven, six, nine, oh, Ratchet, where are you? Ratchet, Ratchet. I'm not sure. Seems like I can get the engine right up and out if I just pull the headers aside a little bit. On this side it's going to be a little bit more rough because of the... I can get the Z-bar out though. Where the hell is that thing now? Wow, way down below the steering box. And it goes into the side of the engine. Ugh. Ugga. That's going to be a miserable pain in the ass. I can tell you there right now, Popeye. Oops. Oval shaped? No, it's round. Whatever. So I'm looking for anything that's attached. Headers. Oh, there's a 7/16 right there. Let's see if they got enough balls. They kind of got to come out together. I remember these were a big pain. Alright, I had to go in and get my other cheap camera because this is the cheap Minolta I bought because all the batteries for my other camcorder are dead. But I think this will do a well enough job. So I found that the headers actually have a 3/16 Allen hole in the end of the bolt. So it looks like, see, you can't, here's the pain I remember now. You can't back that bolt out because it hits the header pipe. You can't back that out. So what you got to do is you got to take out all this, the easy to get to ones first, and then these ones that are really bent you got to take out last. So that one's got to go in first, and because they've got more radical bend. And I think I got the same thing over now. The left side here looks a lot easier. But what I'm going to do is you don't need to see. I just got to get in there and just take all the bolts out of all those headers. And I may have to jack the car up then and unbolt the tri-clamps and just take the whole header right out and get that Z-bar linkage out, because I'm not going to use that Z-bar linkage either. I'm going to use a hydraulic linkage. So while we got this apart, I got to figure out where I'm going to put my hydraulic cylinder where the clutch comes through right now, which it's over there on that side. Hopefully I can find a place to fit this master cylinder, because the slave cylinder is just like a little donut that goes on the end of the input shaft of the transmission, between the transmission and the clutch, and that's what your throwout is. So you don't have any bars or linkage, only hydraulic holes to that. So that makes it a whole lot easier, and it makes the linkage work a whole lot easier. All right.